On Senators, your daily podcast on the Ottawa Senators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome inside episode 397 of the Locked On Senators podcast. I'm Ross Levitan on the outskirts of enemy territory in Winnipeg, Manitoba, alongside Brandon Piller, who's up in Canmore. Today's episode brought to you by rockauto.com. Amazing selection, reliably low prices, all the parts your car will ever need. Visit rockauto.com and tell them Locked On sent you. Speaking of locked, Ridly Greig locked up for 2 games, suspended after a dangerous cross-check to the face of Pierre-Luc Dubois. The Jets center mentioned just how many stitches he had to get. We'll share that information with you and react to Ridley's second straight year starting the season with a suspension. Then we'll turn our attention back to Senators training camp. We're recording bright and early as Pilsy's got to get on the road. So the Senators' first group is about to step on the ice after a day off yesterday at training camp, back in preseason action tomorrow against the Toronto Maple Leafs. And we skipped it yesterday. I had too much to get to with the Jets game. You can go listen to a full recap on yesterday's show. But today we get back to our organizational value rankings, and we are going with number 7 and 6, climbing all the way from 60. These are some elite talents, so we'll break down just what these players could bring to the Senators in the future. All that and more. This is the Locked On Senators podcast, your team every day. Today is Tuesday, September 28th, and Pilsy, one way or another, now we know Ridly Greig will not be starting the season game 1 with Ottawa.
Well, that's just the Ridly Greig experience, right? You got to come to expect that. He's going to start. I think when we talked to him, he said he's got to try to find that line and he can't cross it. I think he was testing where is that line. And sorry, Ridley, but cross-checking a guy right in the mouth and giving him 15 stitches, that is crossing the line. And that is a suspension-worthy act. And he did get suspended 1 preseason game and 1 regular season game if he does indeed play in the regular season. But man, he's got to work on that. Like, we love Ridly Greig, but cross-checking a guy in the mouth like that, there's really no place for that.
Did you find it interesting that Pierre-Luc Dubois, maybe he was just taking the high road, but he said he did not feel there was any intent, just the way the play was, digging it out of the corner, and then as Ridley mishandled the puck, he looked up and Dubois was right there in front of him. So I guess Dubois is giving him benefit of the doubt. Maybe he hasn't seen all the highlight reels over the past couple of years, but at that same token, it was a bang play, and you look up and all of a sudden the guy who's much bigger than you is coming in on you with full speed. The reaction is get my hands up and protect myself.
Yeah, and that's definitely fair. It was probably, you got to assume is more instinctive rather than Ridly Greig in his mind being like, all right, here's Pierre-Luc Dubois. Let's see if I can get him in the mouth quickly, right? Like, you got to think it was just like, okay, I gotta react here. And, you know, I guess that's what he instinctively decided to do. But you can't have your stick that high regardless, right? Like, anywhere on the ice, you have to be responsible of your stick, and it can't be coming up that high. So I think that's nice of Pierre-Luc Dubois to say that, but still definitely worth the suspension there. Like, 15 stitches to the face, like that's no light injury. That's a real pain. And good on Pierre-Luc Dubois coming back in the game after. Damn.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you can argue how effective he was in overtime, but at this,
yeah,
no, you're right. Definitely not something you want to see either way. So with that being said, I think that the best move going forward is keeping him on the roster, right? Because then you burn that suspension, whether he was going to be in the game 1 lineup or not.
Definitely. I mean, you might as well, because you're trying to get a good look at Ridly Greig here, whether it's just through preseason or whether he does end up getting those 9 show-me games in the NHL. You might as well try to burn those quickly so you can get more eyes on him in game action. Yeah.
And I'm just going through Ridly Greig's game log over the past couple of years in junior, and he's actually been kicked out of the first game of the year in back-to-back seasons. Like 15 penalty minutes to start 2019, 15 penalty minutes to start 2020, and then 15 penalty minutes in a game misconduct against the Jets.
He tries to
game
find
one.
that line early. That's what he's doing. He's trying to see, all right, there's the line. Now I can't cross that. So hopefully he's clean for the rest of the season, whether it's in the Dub or NHL.
Safe to say when Ridly Greig goes swimming, he doesn't just dip a toe in. He's jumping off the highest diving board he can find and making a big splash, no doubt. So, yeah, we love Ridley, and the highlight reel goal you mentioned outweighs the bad. But at the same time, you can't be expecting to have a long career and be the type of player he wants to be, which is a pest. But Chris Neal was a pest and an enforcer, never suspended. And now Ridly Greig is suspended before ever playing his first NHL game.
Yeah.
Let that sink in.
Yeah.
So Ridly Greig, I think Pilsy, just to our point, what we we're just saying there, he's going to make the team now. It would be ridiculous to keep that suspension, send him back to junior, and then when he makes the team next
year later
have to serve it.
Yeah, that would be weird, that's for sure. But also, like, if you're Ridly Greig, that's tough timing, because how much of this offseason have we talked about there needs to be an exception for a guy like Ridly Greig, right? Like, you can't go back to the WHL and all this stuff, and then you're kind of showing that maybe you're not quite ready for the league if that's what you're doing when a guy's coming up to hit you, is getting your stick up high like that. So definitely that's tough for Ridly Greig, and hopefully he can serve these suspended games quickly and get back in the on ice action.
Well, no doubt he'll serve the preseason game Wednesday as the Senators play the Leafs. This early in camp, though, I doubt he was going to get back-to-back games. Maybe he'll be back in on Friday. The Senators play Friday and Saturday if you're looking ahead at the schedule against the Montreal Canadiens. So that's going to be exciting as the team is planning, I believe, to narrow down the roster a little bit more after the game Wednesday. However, they did send back Levy, Marilyn, and Pilsy. Were you a little disappointed, as I was, that he didn't get any game action?
Big time disappointed. Like, I don't really understand the thinking there. Like, why not get him in for that one game if you can?
Even half a game.
Exactly. Like, get him in at all. Like, dress the guy at least. Like, let him sit on the bench if that's the very least. But you know what? Maybe it's not the worst thing, because now Levy can get into Kingston. He can get comfortable. He can get ready for the OHL season. But it would have been nice just to see what he can do up against NHL talent, because in his lower competition levels, he's an absolute stud. Like, this guy, his numbers were incredible. He was winning games, it seemed, pretty much every night. He was winning big games too, helping his team advance, and internationally he was doing really well too. So it's too bad we didn't get a chance to see him live, as both of us would have loved that opportunity. But I guess I'll just have to wait till he's playing in the O for that.
Yeah, you won't have to wait long if you're listening to this show in Ottawa. Levy, Marilynen's Kingston Frontenacs will be playing the Civic Center against the 67s on October 10th. So right before the Sens home opener on October 14th. We're going to be at that game. We look forward to seeing as many of the Sens Central citizens as are coming, and we need to keep the Leaf fans out of the building. Can't get back after 2 years since the Sens fans have been able to go see their team live. We cannot let blue dominate the arena. So get your tickets if you haven't already. The capacity increase, you can expect it, I'd say, to be able to go up. It's 50% right now in Ontario, 100% in Manitoba. We're at packed house at Bell Canada Place. No, Peltier MTS was the old one. Canada Life Center.
There you go.
There you go. And for the life of me, I couldn't figure that one out. But going back to Ottawa, we're fired up. So if you're heading to the game, hit us up at Sens Central on Twitter. It's only 16 days away, Pilsy. And I was pulling up some of the more popular numbers with number 16. And, you know, obviously right now it's Austin Watson. You had Grizz, Clark MacArthur just before that. I think people might forget Mark Stone wore 16 for 1 year. So when he made the team out of camp in 2012, sorry, not camp, when he joined the team in playoffs in 2012, he had the one assist in one game, Jason Spezza against the Rangers. I think that was a 1-0 win. So that would have been an assist on the game winner. It was. And after that season, wearing number 60, yikes. He changed to number 16, his junior number. However, Clark MacArthur signs, and as a veteran, good veteran, and you know, a guy who you knew was going to be a leader, Stoner give it up to him. So, yeah, kind of a good trivia question. What's the 3 numbers that Mark Stone wore as a member of Ottawa? Of course, 61 jumps out right away. Some of these other throwback names, like you got to mention Brian McGrattan, obviously, and you go back, the first ever captain of the Ottawa Senators wore number 16. Laurie Boschman back in 1993. So, hey, we're 16 days away, and it can't come soon enough because, oh, man, like just getting that little taste of preseason hockey, Pillsy, how awesome was that? And how much does it just set the table for the rest of the year? Sens are still on pace. As Sean Foisey mentioned, forget 91-0. We forgot the 16 straight playoff games that would be at the end of that. So fire it up, 107-0. We're 2.7% of the way there.
on pace season. I love it. I love
continues.
it. And yeah, like you're saying, like what a great kind of appetizer for the regular season, that preseason game we're at. Like that intro, shout out to Canada Life Center. The intro that they did gave all of us sitting there, we got chills. Like it was just so epic. And although it wasn't the Sens coming out to the big grand opening, it was still really cool to see. And you could really feel the atmosphere of the arena.
Just listen, the danger flutes, dun, 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 dun. When that comes in, it's going to be an unbelievable atmosphere. We cannot wait for that. And I'm going to be flying, but Pillsy will be driving from the Blue Mountains. And if something goes wrong with his car, he's calling the guys at rockauto.com, the family business. They've been serving auto parts to customers online for over 20 years. So go to rockauto.com right now, and see all the parts available for your car or truck. All we ask is that you put Locked On there. How did you hear about us box? That way they know that we sent you. So go there, check it out right now. rockauto.com's catalog is unique. It's so easy to navigate. You can quickly see all the parts available for your car or truck. All we ask is that you put the Locked On. That's it. Please put Locked On in their How Did You Hear About Us box so they know that we sent you. It's amazing selection. They've got reliably low prices and all the parts your car will ever need. Whether you're a do-it-yourselfer or a professional, visit rockauto.com and tell them Locked On sent you.
Hey, Ross, you're telling me today that you're getting your TV brought in today, right?
Ooh, can't wait.
All right. Well, you got your television, but that's no good if you got nothing to plug into and watch TV with. Well, I got some news for you, Ross. There is a great TV service that you should check out. You don't want to be having all those different logins, all those different passwords. You got 20 different remotes sitting on the coffee table, and you're trying to figure out how to just turn the volume on. Forget that garbage. Use DirecTV Stream. You can get all your favorite movies, your favorite shows, your favorite sports highlights all in one convenient place. It's called DirecTV Stream, and it brings live TV, on-demand favorites together like never before. So everything you could possibly want to watch on your new TV, Ross, you've got available for you with DirecTV Stream. No more juggling remotes. No need to buy another device ever again. And the best part is there's no annual contract, so you're not locked in forever if you decide to go a different route. So get rid of the clutter, get rid of the confusion, and get your TV together with DirecTV Stream. You can learn more at directtv.com. That's directtv.com. Compatible device required. Contents vary by package. Check it out today, guys. DirecTV Stream at directtv.com.
I'm already on it with DirecTV. All right, Pillsy, and make sure everyone is following at Send Central on Twitter, LockedOn.Senators on Instagram, and Locked On Senators wherever you download your podcast. We also really appreciate if you go subscribe to YouTube. The views have been increasing gradually, and we love to see it. It's another step in the right direction for us. And hey, the Sens are back on the ice, so it's the excitement of the new season, and we appreciate you making Locked On Senators your first listen of the day, Monday through Friday, getting fired up for the season. The players that are destined for Belleville are on the ice at the Canadian Tire Center in Ottawa. We'll get you a full report when we get the lines from that. So why don't we switch up the order today and get to our organizational value rankings. If you haven't been following along, you can go check out the entire list on Twitter at Send Central. Just type in at Send Central organizational value rankings in the search bar, and all of them will pop right up. And we're into the top 10. So we're finishing up a tier today. Or no, we've got one guy left on the tier tomorrow. And then the top tier is 4 guys. Shocker. But
you can probably figure out who. It won't take you too long to figure out who the top 4 guys are.
And safe to say the order is still subject to change. If number 7 signs a contract, the perceived value could go up, or could he slide down? Did I just tease that he's not first? Maybe not. But I can tell you that number 7 on our organizational value ranking is the franchise. Erik Brannstrom, you saw the mitts on him in the shootout on Monday and Pilsy, or Sunday, I should say. What can we expect from 26 this year?
I would say this is probably going to be the most pivotal season of his entire career. Like
Contract year,
and like he's at the point now where he can't really be spending an entire season in Belleville because there's not much more that he needs to develop down in the AHL. Like we've seen him in the AHL up front and close, Ross. We know what he can do when he has that puck when he's transitioning up the ice. We know what he can do with the puck in the O zone. He's got good offensive talent on the power play in the AHL. All these things, he's kind of, I don't want to say dominated, but he's definitely at the top level of the AHL when it comes to offensive defensemen. However, we've seen at the NHL, he's not quite there yet. And that's fine. Like he's a young kid. He's a little smaller. So he needs time to figure that out. And this is the year to figure that out. Like you mentioned, contract season. He wants to get not just a 1 year kind of let's see how another year goes. He wants to get probably a couple of years locked in here. And if you're the Ottawa Senators, we talked about number 16, Mark Stone. That's the guy who they traded away to acquire Brannstrom. So if you want Brannstrom to really hold that value, you need to give him the proper opportunity to show what he can do. But as we mentioned a lot of times, it's really unfortunate that the contract situation with him being able to go down to the AHL without having to clear waivers, that's probably going to entice the Sens to maybe start him down in the AHL early, see what they have from their new veteran guys like Nick Holden and Michael Del Zotto. And then maybe if Brannstrom knocks the doors down and forces their hand that, hey, I got to be in the NHL, I'm dominating down here, then they have to make a decision on one of those guys that they might try to clear through waivers. And probably if we're looking at things statistically, it's probably going to be Nick Holden that is that guy.
And it's not like DJ Smith's about to recommend that to Pierre Dorion based on the glowing reviews that he was giving Holden in the media. When he talks in the media, how much does DJ Smith refer to how heavy the NHL is, how strong you have to be? Is Erik Brannstrom going to have to work twice as hard to get an opportunity under a coach like DJ Smith?
I think so, but maybe it's not working twice as hard. It's the old saying, you got to work smarter, not harder, right? Like some of these small guys, I don't think they're in the gym an hour after the team leaves and they're going crazy in the weight room and stuff because they have to. It's more, okay, how can I improve my skating? How can I improve my evasiveness? How can I improve my first pass? All those little things that if you don't want to get crushed by a 6'4" guy coming at you and you're only Brannstrom's like 5'9", 5'10", then you got to work on, you don't need to be stronger necessarily, but you got to work on being able to avoid those hits sometimes. So I think if you're Erik Brannstrom, you got to work on kind of your evasiveness. You got to work on being kind of one step ahead of the play, anticipating those big hits coming and moving that puck out before you get separated from the puck and it becomes a turnover. So I think there's a lot of little things Erik Brannstrom can work on. And from what we saw in the preseason, at least to me, it seemed like he did improve on those things. Like I saw him hold on to the puck and take a hit, but not lose the puck or get knocked out of the play or get knocked down and kind of look at the ref and complain or anything like that, right? Took his hit, got back into the play, and made sure he was defensively responsible. That's what we want to see from Erik Brannstrom at the NHL level, and I do believe he can do that. I do believe he's at that point where he's ready for that, but the contract situation may not allow him as much of an opportunity as he probably deserves.
I just don't see a world where he's a guy DJ Smith trusts. As sad as it sounds, I just don't see him as the kind of player. I think he likes Mete more already, and that's pretty telling when Mete's only played 12 games with the team.
But also you got to think Mete's got 200 NHL games under his belt, right? Because Mete has been given those opportunities that Brannstrom has not yet. So that's where it's tough.
Yeah, if you're going to be a smaller defender, you gotta find ways to angle defensively when you're going back to get pucks. And I feel like I've said this 100 times on this show, but no guy on the Sens gets hit as hard and as often as Erik Brannstrom. Like, didn't every second game it looked like he had a gash either on his face or somewhere? Like this guy, and he mixed it up. He was trying to impress DJ Smith. Remember, he got in a scrap with Jace Howerluck in Vancouver last year. So like this kid's got some grit to him. But to me, it's funny to say it's the offensive part of his game, but it's the offensive part of his game in the defensive end. When the puck's on his stick, he's he's too easy to hit. He's not making evasive moves that he does at the offensive blue line very well. So you might think this is a pretty tough review for a guy who's 7th on our rankings, but the value's still there. We see the potential. Like, he can stick handle with the best defenseman in the league. You saw it, like, there's that play against Vancouver again, but in Ottawa last year where he toe drags at center ice and he goes in and just rips a shot wide. But the shootout on Sunday was a great example. Like, full forehand all the way back. Like, he's so talented. I hope he can figure it out, and I hope that he gets the legitimate opportunity next to Artem Zub to continue what they built in that final 12 games of the season. Because if they waste this asset, especially after the way Pierre Dorion spoke about him after the trade, like that's something that sticks with your resume as the GM.
Definitely. And and we just saw, like, not to kind of harp on it, but Pierre Dorion's GM resume took kind of a hit too with the Logan Brown situation, right? Like, imagine telling Pierre Dorion when he drafted Logan Brown, 4 or 5 years down the road, you're going to trade him for depth forward, and you're going to give them a conditional pick. Like, it's tough. So you got to kind of wonder if that's something in his head, and maybe that's Pierre Dorion being like, all right, DJ, like, I know you don't want 2 small guys on your team, or on your decor, but you got to give Brannstrom a chance here. We think he's ready. So maybe something like that'll happen. Although DJ's the kind of guy too, and I think they have the relationship where they trust each other. And if DJ says, "Hey, it's not going to work with him and Mete or whatever," they're going to have to figure something out here. But let's keep some positive stuff going for Brannstrom though. Like, let's remember at the end of the season when Chabot was injured and Brannstrom was kind of the default number 1 defenseman. He had some really good games and he was playing well, like you said, with Artem Zub. And I thought really that was a good opportunity for Brannstrom to show this DJ Smith and the executives that, hey, even with Thomas Chabot out here, I'm willing to step up and I'm going to show you that I am ready for this role. And I think it's about time that he gets a good shot at being a top 4 defenseman in the NHL, especially if he has a competent, good partner that complements kind of it's the yin and yang offensive defensiveness. So, and I think he's got that in Artem Zub.
Yeah, you look at his last 16 games of the year, he had 8 points and was +6 with 15 penalty minutes too. I mentioned the fight and mixing it up physically, and 16 shots on goal in those 16 games. You look at his average time on ice in February, because again, for some reason, or no, he was sick to start the year. He had COVID. Remember, he had to quarantine.
He couldn't, and that's another thing. He got onto such an unfortunate start. He wasn't able to join camp even, and that was a big, well, not camp, but he wasn't able to join the team right away when they kind of had a little earlier schedule than all the other playoff teams did, right? So he wasn't able to come over at that time.
Yeah, so he played under 15 minutes a game over 9 games in February, then again 15 minutes in March, 15 and a half in April. So you're seeing it tick up. And then in May, in those final 6 games, he's averaging almost 21 minutes. So he's up 5 minutes per game. And what does he do? He's got that 3-assist game against Montreal. That was great. And he finished, with 4 points in 6 games in those last months. So I just want to see more opportunity, and it sucks that he hasn't been able to figure out a way for the coaches to lean on him. And I don't know if you heard, but he was asked, Sylvain Saint-Laurent, a friend of the show, he asked DJ Smith about Brannstrom's really good camp, and DJ's answer is lots of guys have had really good camps. Like, that's not really giving much confidence. I don't expect him to say it's his job. Obviously, these kids have to earn it. That's the whole point of bringing in Nick Holdens and Delzados of the world. But give the kids some confidence at some point, man. Like, they're just taking it away. And I feel like this is going to be a lesson in player development if it doesn't work out.
Well, and especially, I hadn't realized that. I hadn't seen that quote from TJ, but especially like DJ, like that's his thing. He's a player coach. Like when he's talking to the media, he's boosting his guys. Like he's a tire pumper. And to not even just give like a throwaway, generic, stereotypical line about him, like, yeah, great kid. He's got to work on his size. We see a lot of potential, blah, blah. Or his strength, sorry. Got to work. That's probably what DJ Smith is thinking. Like, man, he's got to work on that size. Got to work on his strength is what I meant there. But, like, to not even give, like, a throwaway, just typical line and just kind of just move on from it, that's weird.
Yeah, it's certainly strange. Oh, man. That's Erik Brannstrom. He's 7th on our list. I'm just going to pull up. I'm curious where we had him last year. Do you remember?
It's got to be somewhere close to here. Like I bet he's top 15.
Do you think he went up or down on our value rankings? I've got it now.
Up.
Nope. He's down 2 spots.
Oh, wow.
But
Damn.
I would say it's more of a testament to the guys ahead of him, especially a certain centerman who vaulted 4 spots up from where he was last year. But Erik Brannstrom comes in at number 7. He's got 1 year left on his contract. So that's always circled, right? Contract year. And we'll hope we can make the best of it. I have him in here as lefty and righty because I'm hopeful he'll get an opportunity to help where the Sens need most, is at that right defense side. I don't know if there's never going to be a better opportunity for him than here. Hopefully, DJ Smith agrees. But Erik Brannstrom, number 7, as we move to number 6 on our organizational value rankings. I should mention the Senators Group A, the Group AHL, is on the ice right now. We'll get you that line combos right now. And then Zach Sanford, confirmed in the building, will make his Sens practice debut in about an hour. So head over to Sens Central on Twitter for up-to-the-minute news, opinions, analysis of these early camp line combinations. You can also subscribe on our YouTube channel and make us your first listen of the day, Monday through Friday, right here on Locked On Senators. All right, number 6 on our organizational value rankings, it's Drizzy. Drake Batherson coming in, signing a 6-year deal. That helps the value as well. Under $5 million AAV. Pilsy, how about that? Welcome to the NHL, right? He had the first game, scored his first goal, but then went pointless for like 20 games. Then the next year, still couldn't get the pace up at the NHL level. Dominated in Belleville. But last year, that's a coming out party.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Like playing on the top line with Norris and Brady, he just absolutely exploded. And we saw what he can do. And you got to credit the Ottawa Senators player development, because that was a situation where a lot of people were like, oh, okay, Batherson had a great year in the AHL. Like, he's NHL ready now. But he just wasn't. There was the little things that he had to work on. And the Sens didn't force it. They weren't like, okay, like, just stay up there. You're going to figure it out. They said, okay, bring him back to Belleville, work on those little things, keep dominating offensively. And then when you have a little bit more experience under your belt, we'll bring you up to the NHL and we'll make sure you're ready. And that's what happened. And like you said, that contract that he has, 6 years, under $5 million, like this could end up being one of the better contracts in the entire NHL if Drake Batherson continues this projection.
Weren't we comparing the contract for Drake to
Eberle?
Eberle
that's where we started, was
6
by 6. Would you be okay with that? And I forget how the poll went.
Well, remember what I was saying, that if you could get him to an Alex Tuch deal, that would be fantastic. And guess what? He's got like 100,000 more than Alex Tuch on the same term. So, man, this guy, if he continues his projection, that could be a steal as early as year 1, especially when you consider the salary. It's a backloaded contract. Drake's making 2.5 in real money this upcoming year.
As a top line player, 2.5 mil.
He's clutch too. He scores in bunches. Nick Anderson, who we were drinking with before the game in Winnipeg, he reminded me of my 3-point Drake Batherson bet. So I think we're going to bring that back this year. The odds won't be as good. It was plus 2,400 at Bet Online before. So then great times. I can't wait. We're going to have some fun this year, no doubt. And Drake Batherson's going to be right in the middle of it if the Sens are going to have any success. That much is clear.
Oh, yeah, they need to rely on Drake Batherson, and I think Batherson's ready to be relied upon in that way, right? Like, he was 17 goals, 17 assists last year, right? So this is a guy that he's able to put up the points. He's able to play with Brady, with Josh Norris. So once Brady gets signed, then we get that first line together. And I think, but now maybe he's going to have a harder time because the rest of the league knows Drake Batherson. I think maybe last year, like, they weren't quite aware, but now everybody knows where he's at and that he's a dominant player. So he may not get the same kind of benefit of the doubt that he did before.
He's entering his prime, though. He'll be 24 before the season ends. This is 23-year-old season now. And as a guy who I see as a future power forward, who we must remind people was the first ever player guest on our podcast before Locked On Senators. It was making sense of the Sens. And he told us a great story at the NHL Central Scouting. Like, they go for the scouting combine where they do the workouts and all that. And they have to fill out a form. And it says, who do you model your game after? And he put Mark Stone. right? And that was before he was drafted by the Ottawa Senators. But you just think of the physicality that maybe sometimes gets overshadowed because of big number 7 on the other wing of that line. But Drake goes in on the forecheck just as hard, man. He finishes every check. And as he gets stronger, like, go look at pictures of him. Type in Drake Batherson, rookie Cape Breton. This guy's like 5'9", like 110 pounds. Like, he has grown so much, and you can just expect that trajectory to continue and make the game heavier for him. And how much does DJ Smith love hearing that, right? So he's going to be a guy who's relied upon in all situations. Maybe you save him off the penalty kill just because there's other guys, but he can PK for sure. He's a guy who a coach will love having under him, right? DJ always talks about it. He loves the East Coast guys too. He used to play in St. John's during his own playing career. So Drake's a good Annapolis Valley guy. Tough wine out there. Sorry if anybody likes it, but hey, he's a sick player, and I'm expecting at least 20 goals this year. He scored 17 and 56. Why don't we set the bar? Okay, over or under 28.5 goals for Drake Batherson this year, full season.
I think that's the perfect over-under, because I was going to say he's going to hit 25 for sure, but do I think he's going to hit 30? A 30 goal scorer in the NHL, that's a tough task. So I'm going to go under, but at 28.
All right.
I say 28 goals. Yep.
I'm going to ask you another question. Did Drake Batherson move up or down from where we had him on last year's organizational value rankings?
Got to be way up. Way up.
Up 2 spots.
Oh, okay.
2 spots. Yeah.
So him and Brannstrom kind of flipped there.
Exactly. That being said, there's one guy who's up 4 spots, and we'll get to him tomorrow to finish. Or should we just do our last one of this tier?
No, let's save it for tomorrow. Let's save it for tomorrow. Yeah.
So we're in tier 2 right now. We had Erik Brannstrom at 7, Drake Batherson at 6, and there's one more guy in tier 2 before we get to the real studs, the crown jewels of the organization. That's coming up on tomorrow's Locked On Senators. We'll also have a full preview of tomorrow night's game against the Toronto Maple Leafs. And by then, we'll be able to react as well to the NHL group. Where does Zach Sanford slide in on his first practice? You got to think it's next to Colin White, his old Boston College teammate. But who else is going to be on that third line? I guess it doesn't really matter until Brady's here, because then the placeholder situation on the top line is gone. But they have broken up the groups into an AHL/junior, and then they've also got the NHL group. So the NHL group is coming up here shortly on ice, but we're going to react to Group A, and that's right after a quick word from our friends at BetOnline. BetOnline is the #1 sports book when it comes to Locked On podcast wagering, and for good reason too. You can bet on absolutely anything there. Go check out right now. All of the pre-season odds are out, and that's always some of my favorite. You see where you can get value. Remember, we had DJ Smith for the Jack Adams last year, and like, just because the odds are insane, you put in $5, you might win 500, and all the Sens would have to do is make the playoffs. So DJ still not getting any love for the Jack Adams. I'm telling you, that's the award that goes to the surprise of the year every single time. So head to BetOnline right now. Because you're a listener of Locked On Senators, you are entitled to a 50% welcome bonus. Not 5, not 1-5, 50% welcome bonus. Are you kidding me? Go check it out right now. So sign up for a free account at betonline.ag, and it's promo code Locked On. Promo code Locked On. I'm putting it right up if you're watching on YouTube. Promo code Locked On at betonline.ag. Don't sit on the sidelines. Get into the action and use the promo code Locked On to receive a 50% welcome bonus with your first deposit. It's BetOnline, your online sportsbook experts. All right, Pillsy. So I've got the graphic up here for YouTube, and this is Group A. This is Group A this morning. If you're watching on YouTube, you've got the line combos right there, and we're going to run through it now. First line. I'll just read it off, Pillsy, and as I am, this is your first time seeing it as well. I want you to tell me what stands out most, or which player are you most surprised is not with the NHL group right now. First line, Mark Kaslick in between Tyrell Goulburn and Igor Sokolov. The second line, Ridly Greig between Cole Reinhardt and Scott Sabourin. The third line, Andrew Agozzino, who I guess the centerman full-time now. He played there in the game against Winnipeg as well. I had him listed on my depth chart at left wing, so good to know. Andrew Agozzino will play center between Jarventi and Logan Shaw. And the fourth line, Zach Ostapchuk, and he's in between Wedman and Philip Daoust. On defense, it's Jonathan Aspero and JBD, Dylan Hetherington and Lassie Thompson. We've got Xavier Bernard with Maxence Gainet, and then the extra Savigny also here. The goaltenders are Mando and Sogard. Pilsy?
I would say, honestly, there's not really any surprises that these are the AHL groups, right? Like, maybe you could look at a guy like Igor Sokolov and say, all right, they need that scoring right winger. But then you start thinking, well, they got Sanford, they got Ennis, so they have NHL roster guys to replace them. Maybe not bona fide snipers, but they've got guys that can fill that spot. So, and I think Sokolov isn't quite ready for the NHL anyway, so it's great to get him down in Belleville. Some surprises for me for those line combos. So I was obsessed with what Reinhart and Jarventi were doing together. Like, that was a combo that was buzzing when we saw them earlier. So I was surprised those two weren't together. I think that was probably the most interesting thing. And the rest of it all looked pretty good to me.
Yeah, so for me, it is Igor, right? Like, he seemed like a guy who had an inside track on a job, but then you go out and you bring in a winger, all of a sudden everybody else gets pushed down one. And we should mention Pontus Aberg is also in this group. He's rotating in with Daoust on the fourth line. And final note is that both Daoust and Ostapchuk are the two guys with Ridly Greig as well, who would have to go back to junior. So they would not be eligible to play for Belleville in this Belleville group. So I wonder if this might be the team that plays in Montreal on Friday. Usually they don't like to make the vets travel too much during the preseason until, I'm sure, game 6 and 7, you're going to see what the Sens full team will look like. You saw what happened when a team doesn't get reps together before a season last year, and you start 2-12-1. So, oh man, that brings back bad memories. But I want to focus it on the defense here quickly before we go, Pilsy, and that's the right side. I'm going to say this whole decor, maybe with the exception of Bernard. Is it going to be Brannstrom or Holden? Who's going to be that last cut on defense? But otherwise, this to me looks like exactly the decor we're going to see in Belleville to start the year.
Yeah, and considering what Belleville's decor has been the last couple of years, this is pretty good. Like, to have JBD, to have Lassie Thompson. I liked what I saw from Hetherington in the preseason game. He got in a scrap too, so you gotta love that. I wouldn't
necessarily call it a spirited tilt, though.
Yeah.
It was kind of like, hey, like, let's look good to the coaches.
That's exactly what it was. Yeah, definitely. Like, that was like a show fight. Like, there wasn't really any emotion going on there. It was just like, hey, like, we both got to make a name for ourselves. Let's get the attention on us.
Can I get one? Can I get one? That's definitely how it started.
Definitely. But I think this is a good decor. And then when you've got really good goalies, like, that's going to make the decor shine even more, right? Like, the goalies are going to be able to mop up some of those mistakes that they have. And I think this year we're going to have a more complete Belleville team. Like, we're not going to see guys coming in that we haven't heard of and they're on the second D pair because the Sens are short on the depth chart and don't have extra guys available, right? I think they've learned their lesson there. So this is going to be an exciting Belleville team.
No disrespect to Stefan Elliott or Cody Golubeff there, Pills.
Yeah. I saw Cody Golubeff.
Montreal.
I was going to say, man, Montreal, they're interesting. They got
Montreal
Weidman,
Senators,
Golubeff.
eh?
Yeah, no kidding.
And Hoffman up front.
Well, if Hoffman plays.
Oh, man, that's awesome. Hey, one more note, just because you said Hoffman, and I just see so much similarity between Hoffman and Jarventi. Did he surprise you most when we were at the game that, like, this kid he's a big kid?
Yeah, like, it's funny because when you think of Roby Jarventi, you're like, okay, like, he's a skilled, talented Finnish winger. Like, so in your mind, you're already going, like, he's probably 6 feet, 190 pounds. Just like, kind of just putting that in there. But
he's like 6'4".
He's a big dude. Yeah. And exactly like that's why he's able to get into the slot and be able to stand in that high danger scoring opportunity and get that quick release off, because he's got the body to back off defensemen who are trying to box him out. And this is what I'm saying. Like, I think Jarventi, he's going to pop off this season. Like, really keep an eye on Jarventi down in Belva. I think, I think I said it before, but I really see his projection and his kind of point totals going to be very similar to Vitaly Abramov down there.
And when you're looking at who's not in this group, Parker Kelly is a name that comes up right away, still with the NHL group. So maybe an inside track. Shane Pinto as well, another waiver uneligible guy to be able. Sorry, that was
waiver exempt.
Waiver.
I know what you're
that
trying to say.
Way better. Oh, speaking of that, we do want one quick correction. Yesterday, there was a bit of confusion when we were explaining the conditional pick in the Logan Brown. We got a note on YouTube, and we do appreciate all feedback as well. And so if Logan Brown plays 30 games, they don't get a 4th round pick. Am I saying it correctly there?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because I think you explained it in the reply really well. Like, it's to entice them that if Logan Brown can't stay healthy or doesn't kind of exceed expectations, that at least they get a 4th round pick. Because Zach Sanford, he's already a guy that's contributing at the NHL level, and he's a younger guy that's doing it. He's got a Stanley Cup ring. Like, he's yeah, I think so. Dorian loves winner, so that's why he's been brought in here. But I think, the 4th round pick, like, it's not really a big deal either way. But also, when you start looking at the center depth that the St. Louis Blues have, like, it's kind of hard to pencil in Logan Brown for any games, let alone 30.
Yeah. Just for reference sake, the last 3 4th round picks for the Ottawa Senators: Carson Latimer, Victor Lodin, and Jonathan Gruden. And you can go back 2 years earlier: Todd Burgess, Philip Al, Christian Wolanin, and I saved Drake Batherson for last just because he is an absolute stud who came out of the 4th round. But hey, Logan Brown's already practicing with the St. Louis Blues. He's wearing number 22. He's officially worn more numbers in the NHL than he has goals, but we are wishing him all the best with his fresh start there. And if you're a Sens fan, you're excited, man. Zach Sanford getting on the ice, and he's that much closer to the cap floor. Yeehaw! And that's all she wrote. We're not going to talk about the ongoing daily Tkachuk negotiations today, because it was a whole lot of nothing yesterday, right? Elliot Friedman just saying they talked shorter-term deal and it didn't go well at all. And I think that's a good thing. I would rather have a long-term deal that takes a while to negotiate, and they're going back and forth, but it seems like both sides are locked in to go long-term. And if they can figure out the signing bonuses, the trade protection should be an absolute no-brainer for a player like Brady. If they want to trade Brady, trust me, Brady won't want to be here too. So it's going to work out well, I think. So I know Eugene's once bitten, twice shy. Thanks, Heatley. Last, FU on the way out, taking that bonus money, rejecting a trade to Edmonton. All of those things, I think now 11 years later, are still on the mind of the owner. But Pilsy, what day are we hitting the panic button? Because I got to get your take on that.
Well, I got to go back to what I said. I'm looking at the date now on my phone. I can't keep track of days when I'm driving 20 hours a day through different time zones. But it's now that September 28th. And remember, I said the Tkachuk signed on, I think it was the 25th and 26th. So correct. We're he's going to get signed, but man, we're getting closer and closer and closer here. I am nervous, but also you guys know how I feel. I'm not biting on all these kind of updates all over Twitter that, like you said, say kind of a bunch of nothing, but it is good to hear. If I could decide where I want to hear good news, it's on the long-term deal, right? That's going to be the real success there. So if that is in fact where kind of the positivity is pointing towards signing a longer deal, that's great news.
Nervous but not panicked is the official Pilsy panic meter on the Tkachuk contract negotiations. All right, thanks so much for listening to today's show. Reminder, you can follow us on Twitter at Sens Central for up-to-the-minute updates, stats, news, analysis. A retweet on the episode always goes a long way with us. We do appreciate that as well. If you can subscribe on YouTube at Locked On Senators. All right, that's it for today. For Brandon Piller, I'm Ross Levitan. This has been the Locked On Senators podcast, your team every day.